were arrested, all believed to be heroin. Police say one of the people arrested actually had Hoffman's phone number stored in his cell phone. We also learned today the autopsy of Hoffman's body was considered inconclusive, meaning more tests are needed to officially determine a cause of death. So joining us more to talk about the investigation into Hoffman's death and the recent arrest is Vikas Bajaj. He's a criminal defense attorney here in San Diego. Vic, thanks for being here.
Oh, my pleasure.
Let's first talk about your reaction to these recent arrests. I mean, we're talking 48 hours after Philip Seymour Hoffman was found dead, 4 people are arrested.
Nothing surprising to me as a criminal defense litigator. If I were representing one of the individuals that was under suspicion of having any involvement with Mr. Hoffman, we could expect the knock at the door. Not only is the media involved because this is a high publicity case, a celebrity who's been affected by this deplorable addiction, but we also have significant amounts of heroin that were found in his residence with indicators or symbols kind of leading the investigators and the detectives back to the producers or the distributors of these narcotics. So not surprised in the least bit.
All right, so let's talk about that a little more because I think this is fascinating. So you have part of the side that's, your own right to free choice, right? Like Philip Seymour Hoffman was the one who allegedly put the needle in his arm and was doing the drugs, and yet give me the potential legal responsibilities or ramifications for the guys who gave him the drugs in the first place.
Well, the district attorney's office there in New York is going to revert back to what the legislature has said, and that is we punish people who are distributing narcotics as distributors of narcotics. We don't punish them as people who could be susceptible to manslaughter or murder charges. It is a very weak link between an individual who distributes the narcotics and the expectation that a death like this could occur. So I would believe that absent some more evidence that any one of these 4 or all of them were actually in Mr. Hoffman's house or apartment when the actual death took place, therefore having some more involvement other than just supplying the drugs, absent that information or evidence, I think the charges will stay at distribution or possession for sale.
All right, let's broaden the discussion a little bit. Let's talk about California's Good Samaritan law.
Sure.
If you're in a room with someone who is doing drugs, perhaps you're doing drugs yourself, and that person goes unconscious or something happens to them, what do you have to do? I mean, obviously you hope someone calls 911, but could that person also be held responsible?
Well, that's a very good point, and it's a recent point of contention. There's quite a debate on it. Practically, we want people who are witnessing those going through an overdose to be able to call 911 and perhaps save their own life or the life of their individual they're hanging out with that may actually be passing away through a drug overdose. The California legislature saw that sort of void in the law and said we don't want to punish people who are going to ask for intervention and ask for essentially saving of lives. And in 2013, the legislature changed the law, so we now have a Good Samaritan law. But interestingly enough, it would not apply, let's say, in Mr. Hoffman's case. Number one, we don't know if individuals were inside the apartment when he was overdosing. But more importantly, the quantities, the amounts of narcotics, we find 50-plus bags in his apartment and allegations of 350-plus bags in the search warrants that were executed and the arrests that were executed. So just the volume lends itself to possession for distribution. So a Good Samaritan law similarly applied in New York would not apply to this particular case.
All right, Vikas Bajaj, thank you so much for your legal insight tonight on this still very talked about case. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.